I rise in strong support of H.R. 6229, which names the post office located at 2523 7th Avenue East in North St. Paul, Minnesota, after the late William Bill Sandburg, the longtime mayor of North St. Paul. I want to thank the Government Oversight and Reform Committee for bringing this bill to the floor. I also want to thank my colleagues in the Minnesota delegation for their support as original co-sponsors of this bill. Naming the post office in honor of Bill Sandburg is a fitting tribute to a dedicated public servant, a successful businessman, and a wonderful human being. Bill was loved by the residents of North St. Paul, and he was also my dear friend and political mentor. A committed Republican, Mayor Sandburg took me under his wing and instilled with me the lesson that community always comes before politics. William Sandburg was born in the Selby Grand Avenue neighborhood of St. Paul in 1932. His family later moved to North St. Paul, where he lived the remainder of his life. Bill graduated from North St. Paul High School, the University of Minnesota, and after serving our country with honor in the U.S. Army, he returned home to the family business, Sandburg Funeral Home, with his brother Paul. As a funeral director, he was respected by his peers, a true business leader. In 1978, the voters of North St. Paul elected Bill Sandburg to serve as mayor. With a fatherly hand, he guided the city for 30 years, sharing his warmth, his optimism, his generous spirit with everyone he encountered. A person of great faith, Bill always sought to bring people together in constructive ways to solve the problems of our community. As a mayor, Bill Sandburg's legacy is one of exemplary public service, distinguished by common sense, fairness, and compassion. I was honored to serve under his leadership on the North St. Paul City Council and work closely with him in the following years. I learned from Bill's leadership that the political maxim, "all politics are local," was true. It's true whether you serve on a city council or in Congress. Mayor Bill Sandburg passed away on April 20th, 2008. He left behind colleagues, city staff, and constituents who loved him. He left behind a loving family who will miss him, his daughter Karen, son-in-law Jack, his grandchildren Carolyn and William. Bill's wife Dolores, who he loved profoundly, preceded him in death. Mayor Sandburg loved the people he served. Upon learning about his leukemia diagnosis, he wrote a letter to the residents of North St. Paul. This letter speaks volumes about the great leader he was, and I would like to enter Mayor Sandburg's letter into the congressional record.
Is there objection? So ordered.
In this letter, Bill acknowledged his illness. He expressed his pride for the community of North St. Paul, and a pride that came directly from neighbors coming together to meet the city's challenges. Bill also wrote of his sincere gratitude for having the opportunity to serve the people of his city for so many years. I would like to conclude with Bill's words to the people of North St. Paul. I quote, "I'd like to thank everyone again for making this town a very special place to live and raise families. I do not know what the future holds, but I do know who holds the future." Madam Speaker, I greatly appreciate the support of my colleagues for this legislation. At the time of his death, Mayor Sandburg was the longest-serving mayor in Minnesota history. His spirit and service are irreplaceable. For all who knew and worked with him, the blessing of his friendship was a treasure for us all. Recognizing Mayor Sandburg's service and leadership by naming this post office in his honor is a fitting tribute to a man who gave so much to a community he loved. I yield back the balance of my time. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentlewoman from Minnesota is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, S. 171 renames the postal facility at Commerce, Oklahoma in honor of Mickey Mantle, a great American baseball player. The House Oversight Committee received S. 171 after it had been considered and passed by our colleagues in the Senate. The measure was originally introduced by Senator James Enohoff of Oklahoma back on January 4th, 2007, and the Oversight Committee passed the bill by voice vote on June 12th, 2008. S-171 calls for honoring Mickey Mantle by designating the post office in his hometown of Commerce, Oklahoma as the Mickey Mantle Post Office Building. Mickey Mantle was born on October 20th, 1931. Named Mickey by his father after the Philadelphia Athletics Hall of Fame catcher, Mantle is one of the greatest American baseball players of all time. In 1974, he was inducted to the National Baseball Hall of Fame, and his uniform, number 7, was retired, celebrating 18 years of playing for the New York Yankees. Mr. Speaker, in honor of Mickey Mantle, let us pass without reservation S-171 and rename the post office facility on Commerce Street in Oklahoma after this legendary American athlete. I reserve the balance of my time. Mr. Speaker, I yield myself so much time as I may consume.
Gentlewoman from Minnesota is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, as a member of the House Government on Oversight and Government Reform, I rise in support of H.R. 6772, which aims to rename the postal facility in the city of Fort Pierce, Florida, after C.C. Ross Lees, who was a flight attendant aboard United Airlines Flight 93 during the horrible attacks of 9/11. H.R. 6772, which was introduced by Representative Tim Mahoney on August 1st of this year, was reported from the Government Oversight Committee on December 10, 2008 by voice vote. The measure has the support of Florida's entire House congressional delegation and recognizes Mrs. Lees for the outstanding life she lived and the legacy she leaves behind. She has been described as a strong, smart, street-savvy young lady before becoming a flight attendant. She spent 6 years on the Fort Pierce, Florida Police Department, where she worked her way from patrol officer to detective and was respected widely by her colleagues. Although C.C. enjoyed working as a law enforcement officer, on October 11, 2000, she walked away from her job as a cop to pursue the lifelong goal of hers, which is to become an airline flight attendant. It's with this decision that would lead her to join the ranks of United Airlines on the morning of September 11, 2008. Along with her other crew members and passengers, she would be faced with the unthinkable, a hijacked airline carrier. Moments before Flight 93 went down in the fields of Shanksville, Pennsylvania, C.C. dialed home twice on her cell phone to tell her husband, Lauren, of the hijacking and to send her love to her boys, Javan, Jerome, Justin, and Jordan. A devout wife and mother to her sons, C.C. lost her life far too early, like so many others on that tragic day in history. While last week the country stopped to remember the victims of 9/11, today we take a moment to acknowledge one individual in particular, and that's Ms. C.C. Ross Lees, crew member of Flight 93. Mr. Speaker, I hope my colleagues will join me in supporting H.R. 6772, which renames the Orange Avenue Post Office in Fort Pierce, Florida, after Ms. Lees, and her honor certainly is befitting of a fallen hero. And again, I urge the passage of the bill, and I reserve the balance of my time.